Coming up on 5 Minute News. Air travel chaos after NOTAM computer outage. Republicans push anti-abortion bill with new majority. And Russia promotes new leader of Ukraine war. It's Thursday, January 12. I'm Anthony Davis. Thousands of flights across the US were cancelled or delayed on Wednesday after a government system that offers safety and other information to pilots broke down, stranding some planes on the ground for hours. The White House said there was no evidence that a cyber attack triggered the outage, which upended travel plans for millions of passengers. President Joe Biden said he directed the Department of Transportation to investigate. The breakdown showed how much American air travel depends on an antiquated computer system that generates alerts called NOTAMs, or Notice to Air Missions, to pilots and others. Before a flight takes off, pilots and airline dispatchers must review the notices, which include details about weather, runway closures, or construction and other information that could affect the flight. The system was once telephone-based, with pilots calling dedicated flight service stations for the information, but it had moved online. The NOTAM system broke down late Tuesday and was not fixed until mid-morning on Wednesday, leading to more than 1,200 flight cancellations and more than 8,500 delays by early afternoon on the East Coast. Even after the Federal Aviation Administration lifted the order grounding planes, the chaos was expected to linger. More than 21,000 flights were scheduled to take off on Wednesday in the US, mostly domestic trips, and about 1,840 international flights expected to fly to the US. Airports in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, and Atlanta saw 30 to 40% of flights delayed. House Republicans are taking early action on abortion, with their new majority approving two measures on Wednesday that make clear they want further restraints after the Supreme Court overruled the federal right to abortion last year. The new GOP-led House passed one resolution to condemn attacks on anti-abortion facilities, including crisis pregnancy centers, and a separate bill that would impose new penalties if a doctor refused to care for an infant born alive after an abortion attempt. Neither is expected to pass the Democrat-led Senate, but Republicans said they were making good on promises to address the issue, along with other legislative priorities in their first days in power, including investigating the Biden family. Even so, the two measures are far from a bold statement on abortion, which has proved politically tricky for Republicans since the June Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe v. Wade after almost 50 years and allowed states to enact near or total bans on abortion. While some Republicans have pushed to expand on the ruling with a national ban or a compromise ban that would limit abortions after a certain point, many have rejected that option. And it's become clear that most Americans would oppose it. Emboldened by public opposition to the Supreme Court decision, Democrats enthusiastically opposed the measures, predicting that Republicans were only laying the groundwork for a national ban. Last summer, the Democrat-led House voted to restore abortion rights nationwide, but that legislation was blocked in the closely divided Senate. The GOP bills are destined to suffer a similar fate in the Senate this session. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Americans elected Senate Democrats to be a firewall against what he said are Republicans' extreme views. Moscow named a new commander for its invasion of Ukraine, while Russian private military firm Wagner Group said its capture of the salt mining town Soledar in eastern Ukraine was complete. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu on Wednesday appointed Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov as overall commander for what Moscow calls its special military operation in Ukraine, now in its 11th month. The change effectively demoted General Sergei Surovikin, who was appointed only in October to lead the invasion and oversaw heavy attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, head of Wagner and a close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin said his private forces had captured all of Soledar and killed about 500 Ukrainian soldiers after heavy fighting. In a statement on Facebook, the Ukrainian military general staff said Russian forces were suffering heavy losses as they tried to take Soledar and sever Ukrainian supply lines. Russia has struggled to cement control over the town, which would be Russia's most substantial gain since August, after a series of retreats before Ukrainian counter-offensives in the east and south. A Russian Defense Ministry statement said the command reshuffle was meant to improve contacts between military branches and the effectiveness of the command structure. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.